More deaths this week.
Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about using digital tools to help support your English language learning students. Please make sure that your audio is on mute so that we don't pick up any background noise. And when we get to the question and answer, you can feel free to unmute yourself and just ask your questions verbally. I am going to share the link to the slides for today, as well as the link to the Summer PD website in the chat, so you can feel free to click on that and follow along. I'm going to share my screen, go through the slides together. I'll pause a couple of times to take questions, and then we can discuss some more things and hear your ideas. I'm sure you guys have a ton more ideas about EL students. I don't work with them on a daily basis. You guys do. So any tools that we don't talk about, if you want to mention to your colleagues, that would be great as well. So let's start. All right. All right, so when I was putting this presentation together, I kind of started thinking about the tools that we use to support our students and what are the support that particularly our EL students need. So I came up with the categories of collaboration tools, how to get them to collaborate and participate, tools specifically for learning English, how to pick up those words and learn the language itself, tools to help translate, both when you're communicating with the student and when you're communicating with their families. Tools that would be easy for our language learners to use to create something in the classroom, to show you what they know. And it's a little different than what some of our quote unquote typical students might know, because it's not as text-based, and we'll talk about some of those. And then also the content delivery. How are we going to get the information to them? So we have some 4 or 5 things in each of these categories. And first up, we have collaboration. So the ones that I came up with are pretty straightforward. Most of them are Google-based. Everything for Google, with the exception of, I think, Google Voice, is free for the district. So that makes these really great tools. We have Google Slides, which is PowerPoint or the presentation program that Google implements. It allows the teacher to insert media, particularly videos and pictures, that the students would need to help understand some of the text or concepts that are going on in the classroom. It also has a comment feature that the teacher can use and the students can use to go back and forth with one another. And Google Translate does work sometimes with slides. Sometimes it gets a little wonky. We all know Google Translate's a little wonky on its own, but it does work with some of the text stuff going on in slides. Also, there's Google Docs, which is a little more text-based, so it would be more for taking notes, kind of have it, you can have back and forth conversations on Google Docs, you can cut and paste things from other places. Again, it has that comment feature. It's a little more direct in the comments. When you make a comment on slides, it just kind of floats over there on the side and you don't really know what exactly it's referring to. The comments in Docs are connected directly to a piece of text. It highlights it in a light yellow. So you can use that. And Google Translate works better on Docs than it does on slides, so that's a plus. And then there is a talk and comment extension that you can add to your extension toolbar. And basically what it does, it works the same as the comment. It connects to a piece of text, but the comment bubble over on the right-hand side actually has like a media player in it. It has a pause and a play button that the students can listen to your feedback. You don't have to type out the feedback that you want to give them. You can speak it, it will record it and embed it directly in a media player. But it does still have that connection to the text where it highlights the text and it's right there. But the kids will see a speak button, which is nice. Google also offers a collaborative whiteboard. It's called Jamboard. You can throw stuff up on here. Kids and teachers can work together on it at the same time. You can draw things, you can write text, you can type, you can put media in there. It's kind of a combination between a whiteboard and a bulletin board. The only hang up with Jamboard is when you share it, you can't share it with a link. You have to invite people to your Jamboard to work on it. So a lot of teachers have run into a few hiccups when they tried to do the link sharing. It doesn't work that way. You have to actually input the students' email addresses. So this might be something you do with small group work, or it might be something that you do every once in a while, or just have a running Jamboard. You can add pages to it and have one for the whole semester, the whole term, maybe for the week, and you just re-invite kids each time you create a new one. And then the last one is not a Google tool, and I actually forgot to make it a link, but it's called Padlet. Padlet is a digital collaboration space similar to Jamboard. It's more of a bulletin board. You can put anything on here. You can put links, you can put images, documents, videos, you can type out text, you can put emojis and bitmojis. Basically, if it is something that you use to get a message across to your students, you can use it on Padlet. The only drawback is that you can only have 3 boards at a time running. So once you've used 3 boards, you have to kind of delete or archive one of them to start a new one. So this would be more of a general collaboration area as opposed to a content specific one. Maybe just have a bunch of resources there for the kids to access all year long, and they live there. I'll link that word Padlet so you can get to that website. And then for language learning, I have a couple of resources for this one. None of them are super awesome. I think the go-to for us is our curriculum and the resources that you as teachers have kind of cultivated and collected amongst yourselves. But for supplemental stuff, there's a couple things you can use. You can use Duolingo, which can be set up as a school/teacher account, and then your students' progress gets filtered in through your dashboard. It's a little tricky to do. If you go into Duolingo and sign in with Google, you're signing into a personal account. So when you do this, you want to make sure you're using the link for Duolingo Schools, I think it's called, and then you can set up your class and connect your kids' accounts. I did it with my daughter. She was interested in learning Japanese, but she also, I've had both of my kids set up for a while to learn Spanish. They do Spanish in their school. So I set her up as the Japanese on her personal account, her personal Gmail, but then the Spanish is a classroom setup. So both of the kids' progress filters through me as a dashboard, and she's constantly logging into the wrong one. So you want to make sure that whatever you do with Duolingo as a class, you link it to the right website. There's also this website that came up called, it's more of an app actually, it's called Busu. It's similar to Duolingo. It's learner paced. The kids can go through, it's very conversation and written based. It's real scenarios, real people, real videos, but you can't monitor it. It doesn't have any of the teacher dashboard, student account type thing going on. It's a site you might want to recommend to your to your families for the students to do on their own time. Or maybe it's a center you have set up or just an extra resource. It's a great thing to use, but again, it's not something we can monitor. It doesn't have that dashboard setup going on. And the next two are websites. Both are very similar and both are not monitored. Unfortunately, I haven't found a lot of EL websites for learning the language that are monitored, that allow the student's progress to filter back through the teacher. However, both of these websites offer a lot of great practice, a lot of visual cues for the students, a lot of games, things that are pretty engaging for them. So both of them can be used. The first one is Learning Chocolate. I believe, if I remember correctly, this one has topics that you can click on, and each one takes you through like 4 or 5 games using those vocabulary words that pertain to that topic. Colors, food, furniture, things like that. ESL Games is a little more diversified. It splits out into grammar, vocab, conversation, things like that. And it does have a bunch of sister websites. It has a lot of ads on it. It's a Hong Kong-based company. So it has a lot of the sidebar ads. Thankfully, when the students use their Chromebooks or their student Google account, a lot of that gets blocked with the ads blocker that we use. But if they're using this on their home computer or their home device, they're going to see those ads. The sister website, ESL Games, kind of gives direct links to the different topics, the grammar, the written practice, the different types of games that they offer. So, but it's a great way for the kids to practice some stuff, maybe pick up on some stuff that wasn't covered during your lessons or during your content, and to reinforce the things that they've already learned. So I'm going to stop sharing. Questions, comments? Pam, you're my resident expert.
Yeah, so this year we did use Duolingo when we promote learning, and it was really hard to get the kids set up. But if you set them up, you know, if we're doing some in-person time in the fall, you could set them up. That was the hardest part because were set up and could access it. then we had them do like a topic each day, and it
Nice.
took anywhere from like 10 to 20 minutes for the students to complete a topic. So we would assign a topic and they would do it. And I was Portuguese that way as well, and I really liked it.
Yeah, no, I love it. Like my daughter, when she's doing her own thing on her own time, like it's awesome. But then when they try to log into their school stuff, they click on the wrong one, and then the app doesn't work. It sends them here, and it was a hot mess.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, anybody else? All right, we'll keep plugging away. Share my screen again. All right, now we're moving on to translation tools, so ways that we can communicate with our students. The first one, obviously free again, is Google Translate. It comes in various forms. There's the website, there's the app, there's all different stuff out there. What's really cool about the app, if you put it on your phone or if you have an iPad in your classroom, you can put the app on there, and what it'll do is you can actually set it up to scan a piece of paper, so worksheets or handouts that you've given to the class, and it will translate the text that it picks up on there. Again, it's Google Translate. We know there's problems with Google's Translate. It's not always accurate. Sometimes it reads the words on the worksheet wrong or thinks pictures are words and vice versa. But if you're in a bind and you're really stuck and you're trying to figure something out, it's a great resource to use for that. We have Talking Points as a district. We've purchased it, I believe, for the next couple years. So it's a great tool to get familiar with. It talks to X2 in that it uploads automatically your family's preferred mobile number as well as their preferred home language. So any messages that you send will come through, you'll type them in English, and then they'll come through in the home language that the family has selected. Bear in mind, it does go through as a text message. So again, you want to keep those messages short and sweet. Attachments are probably not a good idea using Talking Points because again, it comes through as a text message. They have to click here, click there, and it starts bouncing them all around. So just stick with quick, short reminder type messages. And then when the families communicate back, they're typing in Portuguese, Arabic, Spanish, whatever language they speak, and it'll translate back into English for you. And it's all based on a website for you. You can download the Talking Points app for both families and teachers and use that instead of the website or the SMS feature. There's no fee for that. I don't remember if there's ads in it or not, but the SMS feature works fine. But it doesn't SMS for teachers. It's a website for teachers. There is a really cool tool called the Microsoft Translator. And basically what it does is you set up a conversation room. You pick the language that you're going to be speaking and the language that it needs to be translated to. And then you can speech to text. So you have to click a button, and then when you talk, it will hear you and then put your words down in English and then translate them into the other language for the person on the other end. So it's great for back to school presentations, parent teacher conferences, things like that, because then it'll also listen reverse. So when the family or the parent responds in their language, it'll translate it back into English for you. And it's speech-based, so they don't necessarily have to be able to type their language, but they do have to be able to read it. So it requires a little bit of literacy on their part. And then the last one is a Google Sheets form that was created. I found this online and it was pretty awesome. It's similar to Microsoft Translator, but it doesn't have the speech to text feature. It's just text. So if you're trying to get something together really quick and you want to have a back and forth conversation with either a student or a family member, you can open this sheet up, you can make a copy of it and then share it to them. And then you can type your message. It will translate it into the language that the family needs. They can type their message and it'll translate it back into English. So you can have a back and forth conversation. So if they're having trouble navigating Talking Points, or if you're unable to upload the Microsoft Translator, this Google Sheet will help you get that message across to your families or student. And now we're on product creation. So things that the students can do to show you that they understand what's going on. Again, the first one's Google Slides. It's a great tool both for the teachers and the students. The students can insert videos that they've made, audio that they've recorded, pictures of things that they've taken. They can collaborate with their peers in the classroom or with the teacher. You can work together on it, and the teacher can give them feedback as they're working. They don't have to wait until they turn it in. So that's my go-to for students to create stuff. A couple other options. The first one, if anybody's ever used Storyboard That, it's a great resource. Unfortunately, it's a little pricey, but Make Beliefs Comics is a similar website and it's free. So the students can create comic books or graphic novel type pages, and the teacher can tell them what vocabulary they need to use or what topic they need to be about. And the students can put in speech bubbles, images, action, different things like that. They have a whole section just for ESL activities to kind of get teachers started and ready to go with that. Another one would be Poplet, and this would be concept mapping. They do have a free version and a paid version, so there are some limitations with the free version, but it's a great way for students to get their ideas together and show how things connect to one another. Again, it's text and image based, so if they're having trouble with the language itself, they can put the pictures in there to show you that they know what's going on. And the last one on this page is ThingLink, and that allows the students to have kind of a poster or an image, a picture, and then they can put these little link buttons all over the picture for different things. And in those link buttons, they can put videos, images, text, links to other stuff. But let's say you put a picture of a volcano. You wanted them to talk about eruptions and volcanoes. You could have the volcano picture as your main picture, and then there's little buttons all over the volcano that connect to different things. One that talks about the core of the earth, and one that talks about lava and how it cools, and one that talks about how volcanic eruptions have changed over time, and one that talks about Pompeii. So there can be all different stuff that's both text-based and media-based for the students to show you that they understand what you're going over in class. So again, I'm gonna stop. Questions, comments, feedback so far? What's up?
It's about Google Translate.
Yes.
You said something about if we download the app, we can take a picture of the page and it will be translated automatically?
Sort of. You have to kind of draw where the text is. There's like little prompts that you have to follow. You have to highlight what you want it to translate, and then it translates it. It doesn't keep it in the format. It just translates it as a block of text.
Isn't it similar to what we are using currently?
What are we using currently?
You send, because I do translation.
Yes.
So you send the text and I go to Google Tools and I choose translate and I choose language and it will translate.
Yes, so the only benefit, so that's what a lot of teachers do too. The only benefit to the app is, for example, if it's a page out of a book or a worksheet that has a lot of images, like for example, kindergarten, first grade, a lot of their worksheets are pictorial and they have some words here and there, but maybe they have a student who's really stuck on a word and you don't know the word and you don't know how to, you've tried to help them get it. You can take a picture of it with this app and highlight the different pieces that you need translated, because obviously it's not going to translate the whole thing, but then it'll give you what those words are in the other language. So it's very similar, but it's more for worksheets. It's like
a dictionary, a digital dictionary.
Sort of, a little bit, yeah.
Oh, okay, I see. And another question, if you don't mind, is about the Microsoft Translator.
Yes.
I'm not sure. I heard you saying download the app.
So there is an app, but it's also, it runs off of the internet. So I can show you, I actually left it open because I had a feeling someone would ask. So if you go to the link that I put in the slides where it says Microsoft Translator, it takes you to this page. So join a conversation. This would be what the parents or the family member would do. As a teacher, we would start the conversation. You would log in with your Google stuff.
Means the school.
Yes. Yeah. So start a conversation. You would put in your name. You would put in your language and just say you're using it in a classroom, because otherwise you have to pay money.
Oh, okay. And
Oh, get rid of the period. There we go. There we go. And then you just allow your microphone. It'll talk to you. It gives you some directions for how to get started. And then here's your code. So this is what the parents would go into. And as you can see, it's picking up what I'm saying right now, even though I haven't really started. So it's listening to me and it's putting it in English. And then on your side, if you were in this meeting, you would be getting it in whatever language that you've requested.
Sarah, how are the parents getting on this? Like,
so this code, it's very similar to like a Kahoot or a Google Classroom. They would go to this code. So if you were running this, for example, at a back to school meeting, you could put this up on the board and this QR code up on the board, and it would take them straight to this website.
so, okay, it takes them straight to the web.
So
Well,
this-
they have to go to the website and log in this code.
Right. Or for example, if we're in person, you could have some of your Chromebooks in your classroom set up and already logged into this, and they would just need to select the language that they want to hear it. Or see it. I'm sorry, not hear it, see it.
That's pretty cool. Yep.
Yep. And the QR code's really nice because if they have a camera on their smartphone, all they have to do is scan the QR code with their camera, and a little box pops up at the top and says, do you want to go to this website? And it'll take them right there on their smartphone.
And then they just enter the code with their,
Well, with the QR code, I believe they don't need the code. The code is built into the QR code. But yes, otherwise they would just enter this code.
yeah. Can you talk about, so that's if you're like in person, but this could be used remotely as well.
Yep, you could do that too. It could be like a text conversation. So I don't know what the turnaround time is for something like talking points. I don't know how long it takes to go through their algorithm and get sent. But as you can see, this one's pretty immediate. It happens right away. And if they're in this room at home, they could see it there as well. It might even be something good to have if you have an EL kid. If you're doing your synchronous learning on Zoom, they might want to have this running in the background so they can see your speech translating into their native language that they need to hear it in.
So Sarah, I just scanned the code just to see what it would look like. And it brings up that join conversation menu.
Yep.
It fills in the conversation code, that AT code, and then it has them put their name and their language to enter.
Yep. There you go.
And also in the chat, there was an app that Sam Hinnett recommended, Say Hi. It translates Arabic better than Google Translate.
Yeah. Sorry, dog. Google Translate is terrible on Arabic. I know there's a lot of stuff that gets funky, and there's a lot of colloquialisms in Arabic, and there's different dialects of Arabic that it just gets crazy. The mailman's here. So yeah, when I need Arabic stuff, I either submit it to the FRC, or I actually have a couple of friends who are native Arabic speakers. But again, she's Syrian, so it's different than what a lot of our families need. Some of our families are Syrian or Lebanese, or some of them are Egyptian. So everybody's dialect is a little bit different.
excuse me, Kristen, you said somebody suggested an app, Say Hi?
Say Hi, yep. SAYHI, Say Hi.
It's good in Arabic, for Arabic translation?
Yes, that's what So I used it and it seemed to be okay this year. So again, nothing perfect, but.
Yeah.
I know.
What's up, Celeste?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for taking a quick question. I'm late to the game because we had a
staff meeting.
That word. And I'm just wondering, QR codes, can you give a Reader's Digest just what is it and what you were just talking about? Because the idea of having something running on their computer while I'm trying to teach, and I have to be honest, sex education this fall, I'd like to do as much as possible in person, and I would love what was just showing. I just came late. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So there's a couple things going on. So QR codes are basically like barcodes at the grocery store. You scan them and it'll send you directly to a website. That's basically all that it is.
Okay.
The website that we were talking about is actually called Microsoft Translator or Microsoft Conversations. And what it allows you to do is you set up a room or a meeting similar to a Zoom meeting. And it's a speech to text translator. So it listens to you speak, types it out in English, and then the person on the receiving end or the people on the receiving end have told the website what language they use, and it will auto translate to their language. And then they can communicate back in their native language and it'll translate to English.
And it's Microsoft Translations?
Yep. Translator, I think. I have it linked in the presentation. I'm sending you the links again in the chat to the presentation and the summer website. So if you click on the presentation, it's linked.
Okay.
But it's really great because what I was saying is that I don't know what the turnaround time is on the talking points communications. And that's really more for just like reminders and communicating with the families about things that are coming up. This is something that you could use during your Zoom meetings or, during, conversations that you're having. It's kind of a real time, even if you're not expecting the students to respond back, or maybe they're just asking questions here and there. It keeps almost like a running transcript of what you're saying and translates it into the language that they need. So if they're watching Zoom on their Chromebook or their computer, they could even have this running on their phone because it has that QR code, which is really great for phones. They could scan it, have the translation on their phone while they're still interacting with you on the camera. Yes.
Sarah, do you know if it saves the conversation? Like if we give information for back to school night and the parents want to save that information, does it allow that?
Yes. So when you're in it, here, I'll show you on my screen. It's still going with what I'm saying. It's still do-do-do-do-do. So if you're in the website, if you're here and you click on the settings gear up here in the corner, you can save the transcript.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they can do this on their side too. So they could save it in the language that they're quote unquote reading it in. Yeah, they can adjust the font. They can play with all of these different things.
Sarah, are there any issues with Macs using it? No, right?
Not that I know of. It's a website. It does have an app that when you click around, sometimes it says, oh, you have to download this app on your Windows device, or you have to download this app on your phone or whatever. The website works just fine. You can go to the link that I linked up and it connects right away. So I don't have any trouble with the website.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we have one more section to gear through and then we can stop and chat and you guys can tell me all the cool things that you use.
Hey, Sarah, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Please.
Because you went through the thing link.
Yes.
It's really interesting to me. How am I using it? Like I'm putting it into a Google slide?
So you can use it just off the website, just as a link. So you give the link to the kids, or if they've created something, they give the link to you to what they've created. I mean, I think, and I haven't played around with it too much, I think when you take it and embed it into a slide, it loses the buttonness of it. So I think just leaving it on the ThingLink website is the way to go and just share.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, no problem. Our last section of the slides before we kind of get into the whole group type thing is content delivery. So how do we deliver our content to them? Whether we're specifically EL teachers or we have ELs in our classroom, we still have to get our content of what we're teaching across. So again, the first one is the Google stuff. Like we've talked about, the Google Translate works. It's not 100%. It's not great all the time, but it does work. There's also the read-write extension, which is the purple puzzle piece. If the students are signed in with their Google account, whether it's on their Chromebook or their home computer, they should have this purple puzzle piece on their address bar. So if you can see, it's right up here, and it should be one of the first ones because it's one of the first ones the district ever added. And if it's not there, all they have to do is go to the Google Chrome store, go to the extension, download the extension, and then log in with their school account. So sometimes if the students aren't logged in to the Chrome browser on their home computer, it won't show up. but they can just add it using their school email address and it'll show up there. And what that does is it does have some translation capabilities. Obviously, I believe it uses Google Translate. So again, that wonkiness might be there, but it also has a picture dictionary, which is pretty helpful for some of our EL students. They highlight a word. So if I wanted to highlight video and turn on my puzzle piece, this choice up here, this is the regular dictionary, but the next one is the picture dictionary. And what that does is it says, oh, video, here's what they might know as a video. And it gives some picture images of what that item might be. And I can change it to be this word. So if I want to pick a different word, it'll think for a minute. And then it says, oh, this is what text is. So it can give them a picture representation of what that word is. So if they're stuck and having trouble decoding or figuring out what the word is or what the text is trying to tell them, they can use this tool. And it does have a translator tool. That's this crisscrossy arrow up here. So if they click on the translator, they do have to set it up in the triple dots. They can choose their language in the options. So then they highlight what they want it to translate, and it's over here. And it'll show what the translation is. I think they have to do it one word at a time. It won't do whole statements. So if they need help with one particular word, they can use that tool. Khan Academy is great. Primarily for, I would say, 3rd grade and up. It's a little tough for little kids. They did come out with Khan Kids. I don't know how good it is. I tried to look at it, but it's got a lot of like introductory stuff and parent tutorials, and it was pretty clunky. But for older kids, Khan Academy is great because it shows someone solving the problems or working out the problems visually, so the students can keep going back and watching it and watching it. You can turn on the captioning. Obviously, it'll be in English, but the captioning is there. Sometimes seeing the words with the audio is pretty helpful. And you can watch the process as it goes on. Some of the drawbacks when the presenter is actually writing on the whiteboard, sometimes they write in this kind of pseudo cursive script, which can be a little tricky to read. And they do tend to talk a lot. So if your students get overwhelmed with a lot of audio, a lot of words, might not be the best website for them. Quizlet is another resource. They have a free version and a paid version. It's flashcards, it's games to practice vocabulary. You can put images in there. They have an image bank that you can use with the free version, but if you want to upload your own images, you do have to subscribe to the paid version. You can put definitions. You can also include translations of words. So if you want to do a straight language to language connection between vocabulary words, you could build that in here. They have a ton of flashcard decks already made. So you don't necessarily have to sit there and create your own. You can find one that's already on there and reuse it typically. Reading A to Z is another great website. There's a couple different components of Reading A to Z. So Reading A to Z is printable materials and projectable materials, things you can use with your interactive projector in your classroom. It also has lesson plans, different things that you can use to differentiate the lesson, printable books, printable resources, worksheets, activities. Raz Kids is the digital books, the things that the kids can read on their Chromebooks or their Apple iPads, phones, things like that. So that's digital text. They also have an EL component. I know the Woodland EL teachers buy it with their department budget. So that's something that they purchase. And it has additional support. However, the basic Reading A to Z, or if you have a Raz Kids account, those do have Spanish text in them. So if you have Spanish speakers, those are available. And it does actually have a lot of EL support built into the resources that go along with each of the books. If you subscribe to Raz Kids, it also, I believe, almost all of the books up to level L or M have a read aloud component to them as well. And it tracks the text and goes along as the kids follow on the screen. Newsella is a website that we have for 3rd grade through 8th grade, and some of the high school teachers also have it as well. It's nonfiction text, and it allows you to have multiple versions of the same content at different reading levels. you can assign the reading level. It will also slowly, gradually start to figure out where the students are comprehension-wise. I've heard from quite a few teachers, though, that it does put them lower than what they really are. So sometimes you have to tell the kids to bump it up a reading level or two. It does have something called power words, which is vocabulary support. It identifies the most important vocabulary in the text and has definitions and activities and quiz questions that go along with them. And you can use the read and write extension with Newsela, which allows the students to hear the text. So there's a text-to-speech component in read write. So when they click on the puzzle piece, highlight the text or hover over the text, it will read it to them. And again, they can use the translate feature if they're stuck on a word or they're not sure what's going on. And then the last tool that we have as a district is BrainPop. We subscribe to BrainPop for K-8. We have BrainPop Junior K-2, and then BrainPop for the upper grades. We also are trialing the BrainPop EL program along with this year. We're trying to see if it's something that's actually useful to our district. So it has videos, games, worksheets, activities, quizzes that all go along with the specific content. The videos themselves are pretty simplistic in that they try to describe complex concepts in ways that all kids will understand, whether they're L's, whether they're special ed, whether they're gen ed, whatever. It's very simplistic to try and get the concept across. It does offer read aloud components in BrainPop Junior of the questions and the answers and the quizzes and the worksheets. And then, like I said, the EL component. I haven't played around with the EL part too much. I know some of the EL teachers played around with it during the school closure. They offered the component for free, and that prompted us to demo it for the whole district K-8. So if you need a little bit more information about that one, you can ask some of the EL teachers. They might know a little bit more about it. And then finally, I have a slide. These are some additional resources I came across when I was looking stuff up. The first one, Color in Colorado, is great resources and articles and research for teachers. This is a teacher website, not a kid website. Excuse me. The next one is Starfall. Starfall's great for all kids, early literacy, but it's really great for some of our L students, particularly if they're coming from an illiterate background. There is a paid component to it. It's not super expensive. I know Brookside used to have it. I don't know if they still do, but they do have parts of their website open in the free version. And then I think an individual license is like $50. It's not super expensive. I believe Brookside's school license was like $250. So it might be something that you want to build into your department budget if you have the funds. Fluent U has some videos and different things that are kind of more suited to the older kids and helps them learn language. Again, same thing with the ESL videos, resources, things to help them improve their speaking and listening. A lot of real life scenarios, which is great for the kids. They're not just watching animations or cartoons across the screen. They actually see English and language going in the real world. There's quizzes and puzzles. The ESL videos and the mini things are very similar. And then Learn English Kids has a lot of like songs. Think of like, it's kind of Starfall-y. It's a lot of songs, nursery rhymes, games, very little kid based. And then the last link is a translation video, ways to communicate with families. It walks through the process of using Google Translate and the Microsoft Translator. It shows you how to do it step by step in that video. So I'm going to stop sharing. Discuss.
I just wanted to say if you're, because I teach newcomer and so if you're, I wouldn't use the Newsela with the newcomers. It's just the level is too high.
Yes.
It would be good for, you know, your 3-4 kids, but not the newcomers.
Right. And that's why we don't have it for K-2, because even our native speakers K-2, the readability level is just too high. Think of it as a 3rd grade reading level or higher. So if your kids aren't at a 3rd grade reading level, it's not the website for them. Good point, Pam. Thanks. Anybody else? Things that you use in your class that have been effective? websites you use? There's a ton out there. And a lot of it's like teacher directed. It's not necessarily kid directed, like things for the kids to do. I had a lot of trouble finding monitored, kind of filter back through the teacher type stuff. That's not like a whole curriculum or a whole subscription. You're muted, Pam. I think you flipped it.
Sorry. We have a subscription for Raz Kids, and that's been
Yes.
for reading, because they can, you can choose a story for them to read, or they can just go through at whatever their reading level is and choose what interests them.
Mm-hmm.
They listen to it as it's being read to them. Then they need to read it, and then they answer. There's comprehension questions at the end. So it's really nice, and it tracks it for teachers.
Yeah.
So you can see if they're doing it and how they're doing it. But that, of course, it is a paid subscription.
Yes. So Epic does something similar. It's a little different. It doesn't have quite the same lockdown that Raz Kids does. It's kind of an open library. It does have some audiobooks. Not every book has the read aloud feature like Raz Kids does. They have a lot of fiction, nonfiction. Again, it's their own library of books. There's a few aftermarket books like Scholastic books and stuff like that on there. Scaredy Squirrels on there. My kid loves that one. But it has the quizzes. A lot of them are teacher created, so you have to kind of go through them and look at the content. I found out today that Epic is going to unlock access during school hours. So kids would be able, if we're in remote learning or if they're doing their independent learning at home, they will be able to use Epic books during school hours. And then the parents, if they want to, they have a free thing called, I think it's like Epic at Home or something like that, where it's a smaller selection of texts. It's not the whole Epic library. And they get 2 hours for the week of reading time. So it allows the child to read for 2 hours. And then once they've reached their 2 hour limit, it shuts it down until next week, I guess. So that's better than that. I think it was like $9.99 a month for kids to use it at home is what they were trying to do. And I was like, So it was expensive. But it offers a lot of the same stuff that Raz Kids does. So for those that don't have a Raz Kids subscription, you can use that.
My
What's up,
son
Chris?
also, oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I just wanted to add that my son, like, for if any of you teach the younger kids, I think he was doing something from his school called Teach Your Monster to Read. And that's a website. And that was really, he really enjoyed that. It's very engaging. So I don't, you can't really remember. It's all a jumble. But I just remember the name. Check it out.
Yeah, that's a good app. Would the district ever get, or does it have a subscription to, I think this is right, Vocabulary?
I have looked at it. It is very expensive.
Okay.
Yeah, I have another couple teachers all around that have asked me about it, and I don't know if enough people would use it to justify a district subscription.
Got it.
Because it's pricey. Anybody else? All right. Well, in that case, I'm going to stop the recording.